Our scripture this morning is from the book of Judges. Judges chapter 4, verses 4 through 10. At that time, Deborah, a prophet, wife of Lapidoth, was judging Israel. She used to sit under the palm of Deborah between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim. And the Israelites came up to her for judgment. She sent and summons Barak, son of Abinoam, and Kadesh in Naphtali, and said to him, "The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, position yourself at Mount Tabor, taking 10,000 from the tribe of Naphtali and the tribe of Zebulun. I will draw out Sisera, the general of Jabin's army, to meet you by the Wadi Kishon with his chariots and his troops, and I will give him into your hand." Barak said to her, "If you will go with me, I will go, but if you will not go with me, I will not go." And she said, "I will surely go with you. Nevertheless, the road on which you are going will not lead to your glory, for the Lord will sell Sisera into the hand of a woman." Then Deborah got up and went with Barak to Kadesh. Barak summoned Zebulun and Naphtali, and 10,000 warriors went up behind him, and Deborah went up with him.
Today's story is an old one. Chapter 4 of Judges tells this full story of Deborah and the battle with Sisera. Chapter 5 is a song of Deborah that's sung afterwards, telling the story. But ironically, chapter 5's older. At least the manuscript is. It's the oldest copy of any scripture we have. So as we think about what was written down and preserved of all the archaeological finds, Deborah chapter 5 and the telling of this story is the oldest written piece we have of any scripture. And it's a girl power story. First, we learn how Deborah is judging Israel. As we read the book of Judges, we learn that this is a position of high leadership, settling disputes, coordinating between tribes, and apparently telling those who command troops where to go. Other judges, as the book goes on, are commanding the armies themselves. This is different than most stories of the Bible featuring women. Yes, she is still identified by her husband, but Deborah is the one with power. So much so, they can only identify the place where she sits as under the palm of Deborah, because generations later, it's named for her, not some dude. Deborah is a boss, no doubt. But that doesn't stop Barak, the general she has summoned, from questioning the orders and whether or not she's sure it's from God. He agrees to call together troops. He agrees to go out against a dangerous enemy, but only if Deborah will come with him. Yes, now we're bringing women into the war, which is confounding all expectations of biblical stories. Today's reading is really just the beginning of the girl power in Judges. Deborah's words about the enemy falling to a woman suggests that she will deal the final blow in battle, right? That's what it seems to suggest. I'm guessing that's how Barak interpreted it. But this is how the battle unfolds. Are you ready? Sisera, the bad guy, the general that they've all been fearing, comes out with all his chariots to fight. Barak's troops charge, and the enemy is routed, stuck, as we learn in Deborah's song in the next chapter, in the Wadi, the river. The waters come up, stick the chariots. They can't get out of the way. They get washed away by Barak's attack and the stream. After the chariots are defeated, Sisera takes off on foot, flees the battle. He comes to the property of one of his allies, but only the wife is around. Her name's Jael. Jael invites Sisera in and says, come on, I know why you're here. I know who you are. Come on in. I got you covered. And he says, great, hide me. She says, no problem. He goes, I am thirsty. Can I get water? And she says, better. I've got some milk for you. Lay down, have some milk. Here's a warm blanket. Rest, sleep. I'll be guarding you at the door. You just rest. Sisera falls deep asleep. Clearly, he's a side sleeper from what we hear next in the story. Because Jael comes back. Remember, this is nomadic times. People moved with the herds, right? Tent stakes, available resource. She goes and brings a tent stake and a hammer and puts it through his temple into the ground. Told you, it's a girl power story. She goes out and waves to Barak's army. Hey, I got him. Come see what I did. After Deborah and her time judging Israel, we get a series of men. Each of them seems to have a fatal flaw, or two, or three. Some of them just seem ridiculously unqualified for the job. One of the better known is Gideon, who today has a whole Bible society named for him, right? But he was always questioning God, always testing God, always asking for one more sign, one more miracle to prove that it was true. A little on the Barak side, less on the Deborah. After Gideon, things really go sideways. His sons are looked to for leadership, but sadly they have driven away the one son who was a strong leader, a competent leader, and didn't want him to have share of the inheritance because he had a different mother. Jephthah's mother was a prostitute. And the book of Judges tells us that openly. The only people who seem to be ultrally offended by it are the brothers who ran him out of town. But now they have to turn to him as they are at the mercy of a neighboring power. They turn to Jephthah for help. He seems to be a reasonable leader. He tries to negotiate for peace first. He sends letters to the kings of these other countries and says, no, here's what really happened in the history of our peoples. Here's where the conflict arose. We're not waging war on you, so let's live in peace. They ignore his letter. They decline his offer. So he goes to war with them. And he makes an oath exposing his fatal flaw in exchange for the victory, an oath to God. He will sacrifice the first thing that greets him when he gets home. He wins the war, he comes home, and his only child, his daughter, comes out to greet him. Before any sheep in the field, before any other animals in the stable, no, it's the girl that outpaces them all to come welcome her father home. Again, defying expectations of the girl that's going to stay in the kitchen hut, right? Jephthah does it. He follows through on his oath. Before his daughter asks for 2 months to go to the hillside with her friends and mourn that she will never get to live to be old enough to be a bride and a mother. But the author of Judges gives us this verse. It's out of the story. It's almost like the third wall is being broken here. From this comes the Israelite tradition that each year the young women of Israel go out 4 days to commemorate the daughter of Jephthah the Gileadite. Some of my female colleagues have suggested that Judges was written by women. The power they hold, the embracing ineptitude of men, the implicit message about women being exploited and dismissed. There's a strong case. But either way, there's a lesson for all of us. It's the lesson that Barak learned face to face. It's the lesson that Sisera learned stake to temple. Don't make assumptions. Don't limit someone because of what someone else told you or what your eyes first tell you. Maybe the word for women in the story is this: don't limit yourself because of what someone else told you. For anyone who has ever been put down by the patronizing, dismissive, condescending attitude of others, don't let them get you down. Don't let them limit you. And for anyone who has been patronizing, dismissive, and condescending to others, stop it. Stop it. For starters, it's rude. It's cruel. It's a long way from the love your neighbor stuff that Jesus commands. And someone might put a tent stake through your temple. I'm just saying. As a senior in college at Chapman, my daughter was invited to preach in their weekly worship service. She chose the story of Jael. She talked about the way society limited Jael, about how roles of women were pushed upon them, how they were forced into specific roles. Thank God so much has changed. Yes, she lifted up Deborah as a powerful example of all women can do, yet she reminded those listening that people in power take away options for advocacy. People in power will take away chances for change, always stacking the deck, always keeping odds in their favor. So you have to look at the gifts you have and ask, what can I do? If we can look beyond the literal story, and the murder, if we can take Jael as a metaphor, we can see themes that echo throughout the book of Judges, things that the grandmothers who passed on the story to grandchildren wanted them to hear and to know. For those who collected the scriptures and passed it on to us, things they wanted us to learn. We're asked to imagine what gives us power. Where does it come from? We're asked to imagine what gifts we possess. We're asked to imagine how we might drive home our message, how we might loose the chains of oppression, feed and clothe God's people, how we might work for justice and reconciliation. And remember, all of this starts with Deborah. It all starts with Deborah, the breaker of expectations, the changer of tradition. But she's not alone. Along the way, there are those who tell the story, those who share the story, those who follow in her footsteps, those who call God's people to take action, those who organize and support, those who sing songs of praise and celebration, and those who mourn for all who've been lost and forgotten. Those who offer aid out of their abundance, and those who give of the little they have to make sure others know love. For all the different ways a person can be strong, for all the different ways a person can join God's story, we give thanks today.